This is our video from Monday, April 27th for Pre-AP Algebra 2. This week we are going to jump to Chapter 6 and review some very important topics that will be needed for college algebra, Algebra 3, pre-cal, calculus. I looked at some of the practice tests and ACTs, and there's a few questions that mainly have to do with factoring, but these topics this week are vital for furthering your algebra education. So I want to go back and review them. So today we're going to review solving by factoring, and we're talking about things bigger than quadratics. Tuesday, we're going to be graphing these higher degree polynomials. If you remember, Chapter 6 was our higher degree polynomials. And it wasn't that long ago, so hopefully this will be pretty fresh for you. So again, on Tuesday, we're going to graph these bigger, pretty polynomials by hand. Wednesday, we're going to review the process of long and synthetic division. And then on Thursday, we're going to use that long and synthetic division to solve completely things that we couldn't factor. And then all of your work is due by Thursday midnight again. And then we'll have a quiz on Friday. And this will not be the ACT Schoology quiz. This will be a traditional quiz that you'll need to look at and write out the answers and send me pictures of all of your work. All right, so today we're going to review our factoring. Again, I told you this in Chapter 5, but factoring was used in Chapter 5, Chapter 6, Chapter 7. It would have been used in Chapter 8 and Chapter 9 and Chapter 10. So it is extremely important concept that you will definitely see again in your math career. And so I just want to review real quick and then get you some work to do. So if we have 2x to the fifth minus 20x to the third plus 18x equals 0, and the directions will be solve by factoring. And so the first rule of factoring is for you to look for the GCF. Now, when you're solving by factoring, be sure and set the equation equal to 0 first. Some of you kind of started forgetting that. But this one is already equal to 0. Make sure everything is on the same side together. I like to go to the side where the higher degree coefficient is positive. And then you want to look for the GCF. So we've got 2x to the fifth minus 20x to the third plus 18x. GCF is 2x. And so when I factor out the GCF, I'm going to have x to the fourth minus 10x squared plus 9 is equal to 0. And after we've taken out the GCF, we want to continue factoring. We have a quartic that we can factor into two binomials. So this is going to be x squared and x squared. We're going to need double negatives. Factors of 9 that add up to 10 are 9 and 1. Remember that after you factor, you want to set each factor equal to 0. And so I'm going to have 2x equals 0, x squared minus 9 equals 0, x squared minus 1 equals 0. So I'm going to have x equals 0. Here you could factor, but usually we use the square root method. And remember to put your plus or minus. And so this would be plus or minus 1. And this was an x to the fifth, so it should have 5 answers. So we have 0, 3, negative 3, 1, negative 1. And so we do have our 5 answers. In Chapter 6, we also learned how to factor the sum or difference of cubes. And I'm going to give you the formulas just to refresh your memory. A cubed plus b cubed was equal to a plus b, parentheses a squared minus ab plus b squared. If it was the difference, if it was a cubed minus b cubed, it was a minus b, a squared plus ab plus b squared. I'm going to give you one or two of these on the work for today, so go back and look at your notes or in your book if you need to. And then last, I want us to talk about x to the third minus 3x squared minus 25x plus 75 equals 0. This has 4 terms, and we were introduced to factoring with 4 terms in Chapter 6, but we used it in Chapter 9 as well. And so when you have 4 terms, you are going to factor by grouping. And you guys did a really good job. We're going to split this down the middle. And the first 2 terms have a common factor of x squared, and that leaves x minus 3. The last 2 terms have a common factor of negative 25, and that leaves x minus 3. So we have x squared times x minus 3, 25 times x minus 3. So these have a common factor of x minus 3. So if we factor it out, that leaves x squared minus 25. So if we take out the x minus 3's, that leaves x squared minus 25. You can set each factor equal to 0. And so we are going to have x is equal to 3, and x is equal to plus or minus 5. And so we end up with our 3 answers, just like we are supposed to. And so for today, you are going to have a worksheet on solving by factoring.